Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Medical Monday and our brand new episode of Should You Take That Case? The goal of our show is to be a resource for legal professionals who pursue medical cases by sharing their experiences and insight as defense or plaintiff attorneys. It's still me, your host, Lisa Wade, legal nurse consultant and owner of Wade Nurse Consultants. Remember us when you need those chronological timelines for your medical records. Not only am I the owner of Wade Nurse Consultants, but I am also the creator of the Attorney Medical Record Resource Group. That is our LinkedIn private community. That's where we get all of our stellar and wonderful attorney guests. That's where they're coming from. And we use this opportunity to get to know one another. And we're going to do that today with our guest, Stephen Haber from New York. But first, let's get over to the comment section. See if anybody is visiting us live, or even if you're catching us on the replay, we want you to let us know you're there. Put an A in the chat if you are an attorney. Put a P if you're a paralegal, and put a W if you are part of Women Owned Law. That is a wonderful organization that I am a part of. It is a groundbreaking group created to connect and advance women legal entrepreneurs. So visit us at womenownedlaw.org if you think that is something you can get behind. Now, we want to thank you all for spending a little bit of your precious time, taking that out of your busy days to be a part of our show today. And I'm going to introduce our guest. That is Stephen Haber, Esquire, of the Law Office of Stephen P. Haber, has 37 years of trial experience. Stephen specializes in the prosecution and trial of sophisticated personal injury actions, including but not limited to serious construction accidents, products liability, medical malpractice, as well as injuries from automobile accident and premises liability matters. He is the owner of your trial support, providing e-discovery, trial preparation, focus testing, and presentation consulting services to trial counsels. He is also co-designer and representative of Timeline Presenter, an iPad-based app that allows you to organize, annotate, and completely present your case with the visual clarity of a timeline with PDF, editable, and text searchable content, filterable and categorized events full of visually engaging content, now in Apple app stores. And now I'm going to bring to you Stephen P. Haber. Here you go,
Wow.
Stephen.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. Your introduction, you're a busy guy.
Well, we all try to stay out of trouble, stay busy.
Excellent. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Thank you. How's the weather in New York?
Well, that could account for a lack of attendees because it is so beautiful here in New York after terribly hot and humid weather over the weekend. So hopefully those who are watching on delay will have enjoyed the weather and are now willing to get back to work by listening to this.
Oh, well, let's hope so. In Pennsylvania, we're still kind of stuffy here. So I'm
Okay.
glad things are good there. Now, we want to get into all the information about how you're managing with those medical records, and you have a whole lot to tell us. But first, I want to find out a little bit about you and how you came to be an attorney, what you like about it, what keeps you coming back. Tell us all about you.
Well, I was always a science guy, and actually, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I was a New York Jet fan in Joe Namath's heyday, and it happens to have been the case that one of my good friends in high school was the son of James Nicholas, who was the Jets' orthopedic surgeon. He operated on Joe Namath's knees. And so I was thinking about that. And then I realized I don't like the sight of blood that much. So I sort of pivoted into law, but actually have come back to the medical aspect through doing medical cases, both as a defendant and as a plaintiff. And I still continue on both sides to some degree, although my main focus is on the plaintiff side at the present time.
All right, plaintiffs it is. So, how do you pick and choose the cases you work on? How do you know what's a good case and what's not?
Well, you have to collect the records. You do your intake with the client, asking the very pivotal question, although I sometimes shy away from it, the very pivotal question: am I the first attorney you've spoken to about this case? Sometimes you get a straight answer. Sometimes you can get the answer through questioning the potential client in enough detail for them to impart to you the details of the case that suggests that maybe they have spoken to another attorney, and maybe they're even amending their rendition of the facts of the case or the facts of treatment in order to engage your interest to perhaps be the attorney to represent them. So it's really an interesting process. Not to suggest that you have to disbelieve every potential client, but it's always worth finding out whether you stand in line behind other attorneys who have rejected the case already. And sometimes you have your answer immediately because the potential client may suggest that, oh, the case is in suit already, just my attorney has withdrawn. So when they tell you that, it's like a red flag. Now, happens one of the early cases I did as a plaintiff was a case in which two attorneys withdrew from it. And it was offered to me by a buddy to take it over and try it. And I got a $1 million plus verdict on it. So it doesn't mean just because it's been rejected that it's necessarily a bad case, but it certainly should put your antennas up in the air.
All right, all right. Well, it sounds like good advice, good information.
Sure.
And we're to the spot. Okay, you've got your case, you've picked it. It's the right case for you. And those medical records start pouring in.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Now I want to know, how do you manage them and incorporate them in your case?
Well, I may decide, and what I do actually is I don't I retain the case subject to investigation, and most attorneys do that because you need to have a retainer in order for you to represent somebody and go after their records, be able to get, say, a power of attorney that allows you to collect and get their records. You may find as you're collecting the records that it's a case that you don't want to pursue, and then of course you've got the conditional retainer agreement, which allows you to say to the client, sorry, I can't pursue this because of what we found in the records. If you're lucky enough to get past that threshold and find that the records do not only corroborate what your client has told you about the nature of the treatment, but also that there is a basis to proceed, that there is sufficient indicia of a departure from standards of care. And of course, the other element, which I find is more frequently lacking than the first element, a causal connection between the departure and the injury, and an injury sufficiently problematic to a patient to make it worth pursuing a malpractice case. Once you've gotten to that point, then we're in your stage of what do you do with the records? How do you organize them? How do you collect them? It is a huge challenge, which your nursing members provide great assistance to attorneys that we thank you every day of the weekend, twice on Sundays.
You're welcome.
But it's, you know, Some attorneys will chase the records themselves. Depends on how extensive it is. There are record retrieval services that are very useful. I can name a few names. MCS is one. Magna is another. Acrodox is one that I've been working with lately, periodically. And I chase my own records sometimes, depending on how extensive it is. That would be the first round of records. Then, of course, the defendants get a hold of the pharmacy records and the collateral source records. And here comes a demand for additional authorizations, which makes you chase additional records. So it's an ongoing process. But how do you organize them? Digital. That's the only way to do it now. That's the only way, and thank goodness for electronic medical records, at least to the extent that they're in OCR format and text searchable. But by the same token, those records come in such huge volume, it's not unusual. I had a case that I actually ended up rejecting. The pediatric chart, this was a bad baby case, pediatric chart was like 7,100 pages. Monstrous. Thank goodness it was text searchable, but it's a lot to chew on. So that's why we need your help.
Yes, I can understand. Just this past quarter, 30,000 pages.
Oh my God.
It's just so much.
Yeah.
But
and probably, a
for
lot of
me,
yeah, but you know what to look for. That's the thing. And as you get better at doing these medical cases, not only do you learn the medicine, and it's incumbent upon the attorney to really know the medicine fully, whether it is something that you teach yourself, and I've taught myself a lot of medicine over the years, but also working with your experts early on in the case to get some guidance as to direction, not only in terms of terminology and familiarity with the surgeries that may be involved and the nature of treatment, but also how it impacts on how well your client's case has been managed by subsequent treating doctors and such. So it's a lot to chew on, and certainly, your nursing staff and those who do the chronologies certainly can show their really important addition by giving those additional details beyond what the record shows to even give medical research on a particular topic or some background information, even videos of the surgeries that may be at issue in the cases that your folks are reviewing would be useful for attorneys to see. So there are a lot of value adds that, really energetic nursing input could provide to attorneys. So that's certainly something I would suggest thinking about, at least.
well, you talked about, piles and piles of records being a frustrating factor. Are there any more pet peeves that you have about
Well, we piles of
medical
records.
records?
Yeah, well, the piles of records actually a lot of times can be sort of sifted through to find what's really important. One of my former bosses was very excellent. He could take a pile of records, and within a very short period of time, I'm talking pile, I'm talking about, 8 feet of records, if you stacked them one on top of another, and within a short period of time, he could pinpoint the specific areas. Now, when you see enough cases over a period of time, you know what to look for. But the EMR, the electronic medical records, are useful because they're very comprehensive, they're readable, they're text searchable, but they're also very repetitive. And we spoke about this prior to going on air that I cannot believe that in a hospital setting that yields a 7,100 page hospital record, that the computer interface that's used by staff is of that same nature. It is not just a pile of EMR text records. The interface has to be much more user-friendly to find what you want. You want to pull up all of the serial MRIs on a patient or sonograms or whatever it is. You can go right to it. So that's the peeve I have, that they don't provide us, either you or me or anybody who's actually going to litigate a case. They don't give it in the format that they use it in. So we have to sort of reconstruct it, eliminate all of the fat, and get down to the essence of the record. So it's it's an interesting challenge. And then, of course, um, what you guys do very importantly for attorneys is put it in a timeline format. There is nothing better than an excellently done timeline for the attorney to find exactly what they need to know and the sequence in which visits occurred, the spacing of the visits, what occurred on each visit, what categories of care were rendered on each visit, what test results were yielded on each visit, and how do they relate to prior test results in terms of index of suspicion, if it's something, a failure to diagnose a condition, or failing to pursue a course of treatment for an already diagnosed condition in a way that would work properly. So that is the essence of certainly of med mal cases. General liability cases, not as much, but important too, for you to be able, as an attorney, to lay out to a jury down the line, what is the sequence of treatment? How many different surgeries did this patient have? How many debridements were necessary of this necrotic tissue that occurred from this infection that was not properly treated? It's quite an involved process. And how do I handle mine? I that's the lead-in is Timeline Presenter is actually the app that I've co-designed that is really a one-stop hub for all of your medical record gathering, your case workup, your creation of timelines, the embedding of content, not only the comprehensive medical records, but anything that could relate to it. Deposition testimony that you obtained from a doctor who is the defendant in the case, um, broken down by each visit, embedded in each visit, categorized, the events categorized, and be able to filter too. So it's quite an amazing thing. So I would encourage your viewers to check that out on the Apple App Store, which is coming soon in Mac version, and it also is on the iPhone. The
That's
entire
even handier.
Yeah, I have everything, all of my
Doesn't
cases in
have that?
timeline fashion on my iPhone in a format that is totally searchable and shareable.
Ah, man, I like the idea of everything about that case being located in one spot. And you mentioned before to me before we went on about sharing that with that area with the experts or legal nurse consultants that you use. Tell me more about that.
Well, what you can do with this, which is really very cool, is that you as a nurse consultant can be sort of the quarterback to receive the records from a record gathering company. Do you guys have to chase records for attorneys ever, or
Um, I'm not a big record chaser. Mostly, they've been wrangled by the time I
okay,
come on.
so they come over to you, so they can be sent to you in a Dropbox folder, a box folder. They can be sent individually, however you want to receive them. You can get them on a flash drive from attorneys or a DVD, and then you bring them into the app, and from there you then start creating the timeline, which can start as a very rough formatted, um, comprehensive thing that you will then go into and then draw out specific events that relate, say, to a long hospitalization where you want the discharge summary, you want the operative reports, you want the path reports, you want um, the medication orders, you want the consult reports or whatever. You can break them in separately and bookmark them. And the best part of this app is through iCloud, you can share that timeline with your attorney client. They would then have the install, and they don't need an editable version of the app. They can have a view only version, especially if you don't trust them not to screw up your work in creating the timeline. You give them a viewing version only, which is free if you have a subscribed editing version, and it goes automatically through iCloud to their install of it. So as you are working on it, as you're getting records from them, you're bouncing it back to them, but in timeline fashion with all of the embedded material already bookmarked, highlighted. And from that, you can create your chronologies even through cut and paste because it's a fully usable PDF editor So you could take sections of text and drop it into a Word document that you can create that way. And probably in a later version, what we will have is the ability to create that Word document straight by a tool that you import to, and then it will actually output into a Word document if that's the format you want.
I
And
vote for that if you are taking votes. I
yeah,
vote for that.
yeah, that's a useful approach. And sometimes I go the opposite way. If I come into a case that, say, because I have a side business where I do trial support for attorneys that are trying very complicated cases, and they want to be able to digitally present all of their evidence in their entire case, I'll come in and I will take all of their records, put it in timeline fashion, and sometimes I will create the chronology for them from their source documents and get it over to them. So it's
Ooh.
that sharing application, the sharing aspect of the application is really, really, really useful.
Oh man, and it sounds like it's a system that puts everybody on the same page
Yeah,
without.
and actually synchronizes in real time. So you make a change on your editing version, it automatically goes up to the cloud, like Dropboxes, goes up to the cloud, comes down to the incoming install or the viewing install, and the attorney has it right there.
Hmm. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. You don't know how many times I've gone through a chain of people, the paralegal, and then the attorney, or the attorney that's assisting. It's a terrible chain
Well,
sometimes.
you can pull your hair out trying to figure out what is the most current version of this document. Now, since it automatically updates immediately, it's always current.
Yeah, you had me at shareable and searchable and filterable.
Yeah, it's helpful. But where you guys bring is the analysis and the understanding. That is the real thing. I've always found through doing this, because I've been paperless so long, is I've found that the pain point has always been management of paper, management of information.
Yeah.
The actual understand, if you could take that out of the equation and concentrate on the content and really understanding and analyzing the content, it sets you free to be
Hmm.
much more efficient and present your material in a way that your client attorney really can use going forward. Because from that application, it being on the iPad, you can cast it straight out to a digital projector at trial. So it's a one-stop platform for case preparation, case understanding,
Hmm.
sharing amongst nurses, experts, the attorneys, and then preparing for trial. And everybody is on the same page.
Excellent.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. But there's, like I say, it all comes back to, though, the added value that nurses, medical professionals give to the attorneys, because for the most part, yes, we're bright enough to get through law school, but not medical school, and certainly not nursing school.
Well, that's true. And school is just a small part of it. It's the experiences that you get outside of school, which is where
Amazing. Well,
most of the learning takes place.
I'm happy to say that my niece Emma just was enrolled in nursing school at University of Wisconsin, and
Oh,
she's
congratulations.
starting classes in a couple of days. I think she just walked her graduation walk, and now she's heading off to nursing school.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I wish her the very, very best.
Yeah, she's like all of you nurses. I mean, that's a higher calling. So we certainly, as a societal group, we all appreciate the work that nurses do. Without you,
Oh,
with hands on, nothing happens.
well, thank you. Much appreciated. I'm so glad. I am so glad that you are here today sharing the information about this app and getting everybody on the same page when it comes to gathering and sorting through and making sense of medical records.
Sure. And I'm happy anybody out there who wants to arrange with me a Zoom screen sharing session so I can demo the app. And give a little indication of how to prepare these things, I'm happy to do it free
That's
of charge.
that's wonderful. That's the best way to do things. Just dip your toes in and
Sure.
see that the water
And
is
it's a 2 week free trial.
excellent. All right. Well, now we are coming to the part of our show where we have a Q&A with Stephen. If you're ready for that, Stephen, you ready
Sure.
to answer
Anybody, I'm
some
happy to
questions?
talk.
All right, excellent. But first, we're just going to ask anybody that's out there watching us live to get your questions together. When you get them, put them in the comments box so we can have Stephen address them. And while you're getting those together, I am just going to have what I call a small commercial break and tell you a little bit about Wade Nurse Consultants and what we do here. Without a summary and a review of the medical records, it could be harder to know if you should take those medically related cases that come across your desk. And here at Wade Nurse Consultants, we give a 1 to 2 page synopsis and opinion regarding the merits of those cases, using my 30 plus years of nursing experience to make quick work of your medical case screening. So, if you're watching this and you already have a nurse paralegal uh, on the payroll, this isn't for you. But if you have a backlog of screenings to get to, or you need clarity on medical issues so you can free yourself to focus on your legal strategies, here's what you do. Right now, we are offering a free 20-minute medical record strategy call to help you hone an efficient, timely, and cost effective routine around your medical cases. And you'll just visit the comment section, the YouTube channel description box, and click on the link to schedule a chat for a consultation. And now let's get back to Stephen and our Q&A. Let's take a look, Stephen. Do we have any questions? Are you ready, first of
I'm
all?
ready. I'm
All
ready.
right, that's good. Get
Every attorney always has to always be ready.
all right, that's right. And if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That's what my friend says.
That's good advice.
All right, and it looks like we don't have any questions right now at the moment, which happens sometimes when we are alive. So everybody's busy. Some people are catching us on the replay. So this is what I have as an option for that. Stephen, I'm going to put your contact information inside the description box of this YouTube channel, and people will be able to reach out to you even if they're catching you on the replay. And there's also, I believe I have a link to another interview that you did that shows that timeline presenter live and in action. And I'm going to put the link to that interview inside the description box of this YouTube channel so people can see what you do, how that app works, and how helpful it will be to them in their cases. How's that sound, Stephen?
That's great. Yeah, and actually, that interview was with David Otto, a past president of he was past president of New York State Trial Lawyers Association, and we did a case together. He tried an excellent case, and I second seated him in Queens recently, one of the few cases that have been tried since COVID hit, and that actually does display the timeline that relates to that case, which was a very successful outcome. In fact, to the point that the jury during deliberations asked for the timeline.
Well, that's handy.
Yeah, it was handy. It was useful. I've done other cases since then, also very useful with the timeline. But it's a useful interview to get a sense of how the app works. So I appreciate your giving your viewers the opportunity to have a look at that.
Excellent. Well, all that information, just look it up. Even if you're catching it on the replay, it'll be there. Click that link, and you'll get to see Stephen live and in action.
Well, I could tell you, I wish I had you on one case that I recently settled. It
Oh,
was a case in which the chart was 3,000 pages, and there was one orthopedic residence note that changed the entire case.
ah.
And it was not until late in the game that I found it, but thankfully I did find it. But if I had had Lisa on that, I would have settled it a lot earlier, and who
Oh
knows, maybe
yeah,
some
yeah.
more money. So
That's the truth.
you can be penny wise and pound foolish. So
That's right. That's right. Listen, legal nurse consultants are a good use of your time and money.
absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
Well, like I said, I don't see any questions today, so I think we're going to wind up unless you have anything else for me right now.
No, no. I just everybody stay well, stay safe, noses to the grindstone. Let's get back in court. Let's see if it if we stay safe, we'll get back into court, masked or not. By the way, that's a horror show. Trying a case with a mask on, especially an N95. Whoa,
Ooh, well,
that's tough. That's tough. But those masks will eventually go away, and we'll get back to business as usual before too long. So I wish
oh,
everybody the best.
from your mouth. Thank goodness. Let's hope it works like that. Well, thank you again for participating, Stephen. And are you going to come back if we ask you back?
Sure, sure. I'm happy to talk about anything that you like. And at some point or other, we could go over specific kinds of cases, anything that you wanted to get like an attorney's view and comments on. Happy to do that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, now I'm just going to remind everybody out there to like our show and subscribe to this channel. And if you have any legal nurse consulting questions, email me, Lisa at wavenurseconsultants.com, and get Stephen's contact information from the description box of this YouTube channel. Ask those questions and catch us next week for a brand new episode, Monday, 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for another Should You Take That Case. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Take care.